Let's see here.
That's Paul Henkel.
Yeah, I had to call Paul Hinkle yesterday because I left him a message. I hadn't heard from him, and usually if I ask him anything, he responds right away. So I had to call and make sure he was okay. Nice to see you, Paul.
Yeah, I was out of town. I left my phone at home, so it was good.
Okay, everyone, we'll get started. Today we have District 3 Supervisor Sal Quintero with us, and we'll go over some of the things that are happening in his district, which is a pretty good sized district. You know, some of Fresno, Clovis, and areas of Calwa, Easterby, Mayfair, and the Tower District. So Sal, I mean, I could introduce you, but I don't think you need any introduction. I think you've been a part of, you know, our leadership in Fresno for many, many decades, and that's very impressive. Also, I will mention that you are or were an investor with, I remember you and your brother started investing, I think in the 70s or 80s?
Yes, we did. It was in the late 70s, middle and late 70s. There was those of you that have been in Fresno a long time, there was a small chain of locally owned variety stores. They were called Rudy's Variety Stores. And when the family decided to retire, we bought one of the stores at in the Hanoian Shopping Center, right by the fairgrounds. And then in the toward the middle 70s, my uncle owned a small grocery store at the corner of Chestnut and Jensen, which was consisted of a grocery store, a bar, and apartments. So we bought the property from him, and then I ran it. A lot of people don't remember the store, but they remember the bar. It was called the Trails Inn. It's still there. And that's in the Calwa area.
And I know you and I have talked about that, the Calwa area. I know I think you were raised there, and that area, I mean, I've seen so much improvement, you know, just in the last decades.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, I like to read a lot of Fresno history, and, you know, we have a lot of little hidden treasures around our county, and to me, Cal was one of them. I grew up there. My family moved into that area when I was 3 years old. And just for informational purposes, long before there was a Napa and Sonoma, there was a little place called Calwa. And the acronym, it was an acronym for an organization there that was an association that was called the California Wine Association. All the farmers in the area that grew wine grapes formed an association and built a winery there, a crushing where they crushed the grapes and made wine out of them. And they were on Church Avenue between East and Orange Avenues. And so that winery remained there for many years. It eventually became, it was called the California Wine Association, and so it went under different names for a while, and then the association died out as more housing came into the area. So it stands for California Wine Association, and there's some people still remember the names. So there's a lot of good little history going on in that Calwa area. To date, I came on the Board of Supervisors 4 years ago, and that was one of the most, to me, the areas that was underserved that needed a lot of TLC. And the areas that you had mentioned that I represent is mostly Fresno City, and I represent the County Islands. And part of Calwa is a county island. So we've invested a little close to $4 million into that area as far as cleanup, infrastructure projects and everything. And most recently at Cedar and Church Avenues on the northwest corner, there's a post office there, and right next, and on the other, just north of that on Cedar is Wawona Foods. There's a big empty field there that is currently where Amazon is going to build a warehouse there, a distribution center. So that's a lot of new jobs coming into that area. And so there's been an uptick of activity as far as business investments go there. We've invested a lot into the neighborhoods. They're older. It's an older neighborhood. We've rebuilt some of the streets. We put the grindings, the tire grindings in the alleys to pay them off, and we even were able to talk PG&E in installing some lighting in those alleys for safety purposes. So we've done a lot of work there. And then also in the Mayfair area, we've redone all the streets and done a lot of alley cleanups there. So we've been pretty busy because our intent is to attract business in there so that we can bring more jobs. Another thing that we've done in the past 4 years in the area is we made it a priority in my office to market and sell the old juvenile hall. Fresno Unified bought the property, and they're going to build another school there. And the other most recent sale has been the Old Valley Medical, which is UMC, on the northeast corner of Cedar and Kings Canyon. It's about, I believe it's about 35 acres there. So we've been busy.
Sounds like it, and we can see that. We can see the changes happening.
Mm-hmm. Another one of the big there's a lot of there's a little park there in Calwa called Calwa Park, and it was formed in the 1950s by the residents of the area because it was in the county, and so they formed a special tax district to maintain that area, and it's a low-income area. But it's survived, and it's neither under neither the county nor the city jurisdiction. But I wanted to make it a point to rebuild the old swimming pool that's there, and we've to date come up with about $266,000 to rebuild the old swimming pool. We've torn it out, and we're currently redoing it all, and we're still collecting monies. Kaiser Permanente contributed $80,000 for the renaming of the pool to it'll be called Kaiser Aquatic Center. So we're still collecting money on that one and for that project, and we're almost close to our goal.
And is that for the community, or also used as a senior center? I thought I heard something about a senior center out that way.
Well, there's no, the senior center is located, there's the senior activities at Mosqueda Center by the fairgrounds. At Calwa Park, what we're looking to do at the swimming pool, when it was built in the 1950s, it was probably the largest pool in the Fresno area built. And so over the years, it's been closed. And so we've redesigned it to make it a 4-foot swimming pool all the way around for children. And then the other part, it'll also provide activities for seniors, therapy and that type of thing. So it's going to be pretty much of a full use for the entire community.
Well, that's wonderful.
But we're real excited about all the activity going on there. For many years, the county had been trying to sell UMC and the juvenile hall campus. So we've been pretty busy.
Yeah, that's been a tough one. That juvenile hall.
Mm-hmm.
That's been a tough property over the years.
Mm-hmm. The important thing is that in the areas like Mayfair, Calwa. Those are older neighborhoods, as everybody knows. The growth has gone to the north, but it's important that we maintain and do what we can to keep up our older neighborhoods. And I like to refer to the saying that they use in Field of Dreams: if you build it, they'll come. And for me, we use the saying of, if you clean it, they will come. So when I was on the city council, we went through a lot of the old neighborhoods in Southeast Fresno. I was on the city council for 14 years and now 4 years on the county. So that gives me about 18 years in government service. And we've made, all those years, we've always prioritized the cleaning up of and bringing programs into our lower income areas. And so we've done cleanups, we've done road repair, sidewalk repair, trimming of trees. We even had a lead-based program in the county that if you own a rental home, you're eligible to have that home cleaned up if it has lead base on it. No cost. We take care of it, so you don't have to live in that home. And so that's been real helpful. Even some of investors applied for that program in those two areas, Cowell and Mayfair area. But that's throughout the county. It's a county program. So there's a lot of help that the council and the board of supervisors can do to help areas where you're thinking of going and selling homes, properties that the local government can work with you on cleanup in the area, so it'd make it easier for you to sell the property.
That's wonderful. Somebody was, Dennis was asking if let's see, if that was Vidal, was it? I lost your message there. Winery, the one you were talking about? Vidal Winery. I remember going to Calwa Pool for swimming lessons, he says.
Oh, yeah, the winery was located, like I said, on Church Avenue between Orange Avenue and East Avenue, and over the years it had different names once the association decided to sell as farmers invested growing other fruits and vegetables on their properties.
Imagine if that would have continued with all the rage with wineries these days. That would have been amazing on that end, and then we have some on the north end that I didn't even know over towards Tesoro Viejo. It's just an amazing thing going on with our city right now that, we can have those things here and not have to head out to Paso Robles or the north, the south end of the valley.
Yeah, there's really been a lot of activity. The area I represent on the county portion is west of 99 to Peach Avenue. So that includes the Chinatown area as well, all the way to Peach Avenue, which is over here in the Sunnyside area. And then on the south side of the district is American Avenue, which is over in the Malaga area, close to the Malaga area. And then on the south, that's the north side is Ashland and zigzags to Shields. And then to the south, it goes to American Avenue.
And that's
so those are all the county islands.
That's Tarpey, right there. Yeah.
A little bit of we go up to Peach Avenue where the old Palco campus is at. The county has gone in there and bought and leased some of the Palco buildings in there. Our technology computer center is out there. Our social services center is out there. We bought the old Costco building there. So we're moving quite a bit of our services over there.
Nice. Any questions? Anyone, feel free to unmute yourselves if you have any questions.
Yeah. Hey, Carmen. Sal, let me ask you a question. I too live in a county island and not one of the ones that you named. It appears the state of California has a program where if you happen to have a large single-family home, 4 or 5 bedrooms or whatever, it can be purchased by a person that has formed a business that will bring in, and at first it was men that were suffering from drug abuse, and move them in there, and there's nothing you or the city can do about it. And they go in there, and now they bought 2. They sit side by side. They roam the neighborhood. To my understanding now, there has been some gang infiltration in there. There is an individual also that's brought in a small manufactured home. And this one is a woman with kids that lives on the property, and there's no water hooked up to the place she lives in. Nothing you can do about it. What is this program, and how can we get this under control?
That's a tough one, simply because I had that problem in the mid-'90s on Huntington Boulevard. There was a home that was there for 5 individuals that was set up, and the neighborhood, of course, went crazy, and there was nothing that could be done about it. What can be done to some degree is to try and help control the behavior that goes on there by contacting your, I can tell you the police department is aware of that home probably by the number of calls that they get.
Yeah.
Or well, you're in a county island, so it'd probably be the sheriff's department.
Yeah.
They're aware of it. I would contact your county supervisor, and then also tie it in with the social services department that awards that contract. But I would also talk to the state legislatures about it. Your assemblyman who represents your area there. There's not much that can be done, but at least they can try and monitor it. We have one of the fellows that works in our office. There's a home like that down the street from his house, and they were getting the strong smell of marijuana smoke. There was kids jumping over fences on backyards.
Sounds like
it's a tough one.
Yeah. The thing I don't understand, these houses are purchased by private individuals, or maybe there's a group of private, and the state of California forms a contract with these people and pays them an enormous amount of money. They make a lot of money. And then, they are destroying, or house by house. There are 3 houses in let's just say 2 houses in my neighborhood that falls under that definition. And believe you me, unfortunately, there are a couple of people that are actively involved trying to get something done. That are very, very high-profile people in Fresno that live on the same street. And believe you me, they're getting absolutely nowhere.
And one of the reasons too may be because you're dealing with a state. If they have a state program, that can make it difficult, right?
Well, a lot of times it's money that the state gives to the local, the county governments. Say it's social services for them to contract out to monitor a program. One of the things that you may want to do is with your neighbors, meet with the Department of Social Services, find out what the rules are. Just say, how many times can these people get away with this stuff? I mean, isn't there a set of rules that you can stop contracting with them? They're nonprofits. They make money. It's a business to them, but they also have guidelines and rules and regulations. And I would even ask, how many calls for service for the sheriff's department has to occur before you do something about it? Or who can we contact at the state level to say that this organization is not in compliance with the rules?
Well, believe you me,
and I would, everybody's busy, especially in your profession, to where you can probably contact your local legislator, be it the assemblyman that represents it, and talk to them. That's what you elect them to do. Get that information for you and see what can be done. I know they'll tell you there's absolutely nothing, but just say, no, but what are the rules? What do they have to do to stay in compliance? And do you monitor their contracts? Do you monitor their calls for service from the sheriff's department? What does their contract read?
Believe you me, all the things you're talking about have been done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a tough one. Like I said, that was a nightmare on Huntington Boulevard, and it doesn't just destroy the 3 or 4 homes around there. It affects the entire neighborhood. I know what you're saying.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your response.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Feel free to unmute, please.
Pardon me?
Well, I'm just letting the group know sometimes they're shy to unmute themselves.
And let me give you a couple numbers, telephone numbers that they may want to write down. If you have an issue with and you're in the city, or you're trying to sell a home in the city, that let's say the property next door is really a mess, and it's going to be a tough sell. You can, like, let's say inoperable cars, or just the landscaping's terrible, that they're not being taken care of, and it may be a rental in itself. If it's in the city, you can call a number at the city of Fresno. It's 621 city, and ask for code enforcement. And you can say, and they won't use your name. They will not use your name. If you ask them, I don't want my name used, but this is a bad property. Needs cleaning up.
Right now?
Pardon me?
Is code enforcement really working right now?
Yes.
They are.
Yeah. Yeah, right now they're busy trying to shut down businesses.
Unfortunately, the 2 houses I'm talking about has some very, very high-powered Fresno people involved with it. And it's like running up a slippery slope.
Well, that's why I said those, when you can call in and say, I don't want my name used. I would get people that would call me and say, hey, somebody turned me in, and I want to know who turned me in. And I said, well, I can't give you a name because you're just a bad property owner, and all your neighbors turned you in, so I don't know everybody.
That's funny. That's good.
That's and the other number with the city of Fresno is 621-8000. That's the front desk number for the city council. If you want to talk to your council member representative, you can call them, and then they'll either connect you to the council member's office. You may get a recording, or you may get the staff person. And then for us at the county, you can call us at 600-3000. And then my direct number is 600-3005. And my cell number is 313-2531. Ari that joined you for the meeting, his direct number at the office is 600-3002. And his cell number is 213-1219. So even if you call those numbers and ask for direction, they should be pretty helpful with that as well. I mean, I get calls, say, I don't even know who my supervisor representative is. I say, well, where do you live? So we'll tell them.
That's wonderful that we have our supervisors and everyone there is so helpful, and you leading us in the right direction. So we appreciate that and the things that you do and helping all of us in the city mainly because we know how much that means to you to make sure that, you know, we have a great city that has resources and is running well and, you know, gets better and better.
Sal, do you cover the
Yeah.
eastern area?
Do I go to the eastern area? I'm familiar with it.
I was asking if you cover it, if that's part of your jurisdiction or not.
No, I believe that's Supervisor Mendez, Buddy Mendez.
And also there's an app, right, Sal? There's the, is it the Fresno app that you can have on your phone? And
Yes.
I've used it many times.
Show you the boundary lines. It'll show you the boundary lines of each supervisor, city council, should have state government as well.
Mhm.
You know, and really one of the things that I've always stressed in my office is that usually when a constituent or individual calls up, it's out of frustration because they need help and everything. And we've really tried hard to always make it a point to return our phone calls because, you know, that's what you're a public servant. And it ties in a lot with the type of work that that you do. If you don't return a call, you lose business. So it's really important to have that line of communication available.
Yeah. And Sal, I didn't know about the lead base. I've had clients that requested that. So because I have a friend that works in the health department, you know, they directed me to the lead base info line, but I didn't know that as an investor, you know, a property owner, you can have an inspection and have that taken care of. Did I hear that correctly?
Mm-hmm. That was one of the nice things about this program because generally you have to live in the home to get to qualify.
Mm-hmm.
And with this one, if it's a rental and you're the property owner and you have it rented out, you're eligible for it.
That's
So
wonderful.
if it's one of your rentals, you can do it. That was just really, I mean, it was a nice surprise to a lot of folks on that.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're, you know, that's one of the things. And then the tricky thing is that the Callaway area, and you're going to find this in some other parts of Fresno County, is that the Callaway area, that neighborhood in particular, the only areas that we were able to fix up that I mentioned, all the work that we did in there, was the neighborhood, the part of the neighborhood that was in the county. Because the other part is in the city. So like one side of the street's county, the other side's city, but we tried to help out the city when we were there. And then the city also helped us in picking up the trash. They provided some trucks for us. And that type of thing. So sometimes if they tell you they can't help you, that's the reason.
Nice.
But we'll be happy to, you know, let you know what if you call us what belongs to what.
So one of the other programs we have in Fresno that I found works very well is through the Clean Air Board in regard to these fire inserts. They will just about pay a good portion of what it costs you to convert your fireplace and put an insert in there that looks good, works well. In fact, I have two of them. I have one in my house and I have one in one of my rentals. And I got to tell you, it's a godsend. I won't be cutting any wood, carrying it in, smoking up the air. So if anyone has a fireplace and it's a wood burning fireplace, I know we like to see that wood burn and smell and have a glass of brandy and kind of stuff. I've found that this insert works just as well. You might take a look at it.
Is that through the San Joaquin Valley Air Pollution District?
Yes.
Yeah, right on Gettysburg and Blackstone. Yeah,
yes, it is.
That's where they're located. Yeah,
Right.
they're very helpful. That's a good organization.
Yes.
Very good. Hmm.
Hey, Tom, Ann and
Yeah,
I just got one.
there's a lot of good services programs that are helpful too. The other part too is that I'm surprised a lot of homeowners don't even know this. And insurance companies, some of them are pretty helpful. Is that if your home is, I believe, a half-mile from a fire station or a police substation, your insurance property rates go down a little bit.
Right.
So that's another good selling point for you. And then the area over here my wife and I, we live over here by Fresno Pacific University in the IRS area, on the south side of Butler, across from the IRS is where we live. But actually at more or less Kings Canyon and Clovis Avenue, there's a lot of new housing going on. A lot of homes are being sold in that area. You have 3 school districts. Clovis, Sanger just built a beautiful new administration and school campus at Fowler and Jensen. You should take a drive by there, see that. And then we have the Fresno Unified School District, all within that area. And then Fresno Unified is going to build another new high school just down the street from Sunnyside High School on Peach Avenue at Peach and Church Avenue. They're going to build a new high school there as well.
You know, that's a really good thing because with, like you mentioned, with all that construction going on that way, and you know, there are a lot of apartments as well. It's much needed because I know Sunnyside the population is really, really tight. And I know some of the families whose children who live in those boundaries sometimes do go to the Sanger schools, but the Sunnyside has had a wonderful reputation over the years as well.
Yeah, and you know, the rule of thumb with developers is to, and John Bonadelli taught developers this, you always buy land 10 years before you build. Because they're not creating land anymore. So a lot of the empty land that you see out here, it's already been bought by developers, and they just sit on it for the time for them to build. You know, but usually that's a rule of thumb is they buy 10 years ahead of time. And so a lot of these properties that either have fruits and vegetables on them, they're getting they're going to be housing.
Now with Amazon coming into that new center, did they get special anything special from the city, like an incentive, tax incentive, you know, for a duration of time, that kind of thing?
Well, you know, that little piece there, that area that was bought, an investor, the person that bought the property approached Amazon and said, I own this property, I'll build you a warehouse, a distribution center. Are you interested? And they said yes. So all the permits and everything had to be approved by the county, not the city. And the person that bought the property came to see me, and he said, I've been having trouble getting my permits approved for about a year now, and you know, can you help me? And I said, sure. And so I called our public works department, and we were able to help them out and get all that approved. Right now, if you drive by there, you're going to be shocked at the number of vans that are there that say the word Prime on them. And that's on the west side of Cedar Avenue. On the east side is an empty parking lot and an old vacant warehouse called Unisource. And that's filled with vehicles because they cross the street to go to the vans to start delivery. And so we're currently working in partnership with the city to install a pedestrian-friendly signal light at Cedar and Florence, because that's where you need to cross the street to get to the other side, where Amazon is for the employees. And so we're working hand in hand with the city on getting that signal light done.
And that's going to have like a pedestrian way. Do they have to have a lot of feasibility studies for that? I know that in
That's all been done.
It's all been done.
We've done all that. Yes, it's in fact, it's a new type of signal that I said is pedestrian friendly, and it's called a Hawk signal. And I believe it's the first one in the city of Fresno. But I don't know all how it works, but that's the type of signal. It's called Hawk, H-A-W-K. So that's creating a lot of new jobs. The other area that we're focused on, there's an old industrial park at between North and Jensen and Chestnut and Maple. Okay, that's where Fresno Irrigation District is located. JD Foods is located there. Bet Springs is there. And there's a lot of empty properties there for new industry to come in. Has a rail spur and it has freeway access, and it's right down the street on North Avenue from where the original Amazon is at. So that's a good that's a super location for companies that are interested in coming to Fresno that need highway access and rail access and building big warehouses. And that area originally was an old, back in the 40s, was an old airport called Adams Airport for single engine planes, and it was just hard pan. So it's a lot of history in there, but those are big companies. Bet Springs started in the 1800s in San Francisco and moved to Fresno, and so they're all good paying jobs. JD Foods, we worked with them to open a new warehouse there to store their food for the trucks to come in and pick up the meat and deliver.
Yeah, and it's so good to have that locally, because a lot of the problems that we were having with not enough inventory of foods or services here locally, during the pandemic especially, was mostly because of infrastructure in the, trucking those things in from other places. So
right,
that's so important.
Exactly.
That you're able to take control of some things. You can't do everything.
Yeah, there's there's still land available out there for big companies, and the one thing I really liked about Amazon going in there is in San Antonio, Texas, in the 1980s and 90s, when Henry Cisneros was the mayor there, their concept was to bring in industrial type of businesses, manufacturing and food processing, that type of thing, to the areas where people needed jobs, and locate them there so that people could walk to work, then save enough money to buy a car, type of deal. That was their concept, and it was very successful over there. And that's what I liked about Amazon coming into Calwa, JD Foods being there, Bet Springs. They're all good paying jobs.
Yes, I know. I have a tenant in Pinedale, actually, that two of them, and they work in Amazon. So they work at Amazon, and they're real happy there. I think they've been there about 2 years and one about 3. So pretty good company to work for is what I hear.
There's a industrial park that got built over on the southeast corner of Belmont and Fowler Avenues. That's Mr. Cashin and his investors own that. There's a company there called Pana Pacific, and that's a good paying job. They've been here about 15 years in Fresno. They relocated there when I was on the city council. And they make custom technology type of dashboards and instrument panels for the big rigs, the transportation type of vehicles. But they also do that for Mercedes and Bentley and Rolls-Royce, all the big companies. And it's called Pana-Pacific, and a lot of people don't even know about it. But it's a division of Panasonic. So, I mean, we got some big companies here.
Yeah, I had no idea. You're right. We don't know about them.
Yeah. I was also involved when I was on the city council when the Gap located in Fresno. And so that brought in a lot of tax revenue for the city of Fresno, still does to some degree. So there's a lot, and you know, a lot of that is where you have properties where there's maybe older neighborhoods that are good investments for people to go and say, you know, I work close by, or I can get my kids can get a job there, or I can get a job there. You know,
I have family.
We have a lot of those pockets.
I have family on my husband's side that's supposed to be building about 100 condos on if everything goes well, on Jensen and west of Chestnut there. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on over that way. I was very surprised.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of little areas like that. Mayfair, we've done, like I said, a lot of work in there with rebuilding the streets, cleaning the alleys, and working with even volunteer groups that have come in. When we did the cleanup in Caldwell, we got one of the clubs from Bullard High School came in and painted the administration building there at Caldwell Park and planted flowers. And then we got there was a group of volunteers from the Kiwanis Club that has a developmentally disabled youth as part of their club. And those youth came and helped clean up the alleys and work with the Bullard students as well. And then we just had a big barbecue afterwards. You know, everybody was happy. So we have a lot of good help from the community as well.
That's great. And did Mike have a question earlier? I heard his voice and then he disappeared. No? Okay. But feel free to unmute yourselves if you have any questions. We're very informal here.
Okay.
There's one in the chat. Was somebody going to say something? Okay. There's one in the chat for you, Sal. Do you have the number for the lead-based paint removal program?
If you call Ari at our office, he'll go ahead and give you that number.
Okay, wonderful. And Ari, we appreciate you. You are so amazing in the office, you know, responsive-wise and very organized. So, you know, that's what we're seeing from our supervisors is the way you handle your offices is just amazing. And the folks that work with you, you know, I mean, it's wonderful to be able to reach out to you and, you know, just have the responses that we have had.
You know, one of the things that that's been a big concern to everybody, no matter what part of Fresno County you live in, and this is going on, you know, probably nationwide, is the homeless situation, and that's really been a tough one to tackle and try to solve. It's just I don't know that we're going to see the end of it soon. If anything, you know, the numbers are getting bigger and bigger. But I believe that through the work that our county's doing, the social services, health department, and working hard on that, it's just trying to maintain it where it's at. I know over here, you're going to see on, I'll give you an example, Freeway 180 and Peach. the on and off ramps, there's 2 areas there that have homeless living on there, and that's the property of Caltrans. I called Caltrans and I said, these folks are setting up tents. I mean, it's like a little village there, and I don't think it's a good idea because they back up to apartments, and that's not good either. But they're living there, and their response to me was, well, we're letting them live there because we went and talked to them, and they don't have anywhere else to go. And we told them, well, as long as you keep the place clean, we'll bring you trash bags and we'll pick up the trash, and you can stay there. And I thought, okay, so this is going to be throughout our state highway system, then I guess, if that's what Caltrans is doing. And 180 and Peach, that's one of your off ramps to go to the Fresno airport. So if you're coming in and you're from out of town and drive through there and you see this, it's not a good, doesn't speak too well about Fresno, but it's just tough to try and address. And I know we're doing what we can. It's often you're driving down 41 and you see on the within the trees these little tents and everything, and that we may have something that we can do through the Fresno County Transportation Authority, and we have representatives that are on that in the city and county level. They meet regularly, and that's who you can also call and say, I'm having a tough time selling houses to folks from out of town when they travel down 41 or 180. So that's, those are, you have, organizations that you can call and let them know what your concerns are, or elected officials that sit on those boards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know I've called some because you're right. It's even a danger because as you're driving on 41, you see carts midway on the hill. I mean, those can just fall in and cause an accident,
they can come down they can come down the hill. Or, what if an individual trips?
Yes. Yes. I know I heard there was somebody that was run over, and I was wondering if it was someone that was, living on the tent somewhere up there that just rolled down the hill. You just never know.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. What does the organization keep track of where the majority of residential properties are sold? Is it North Fresno or West Fresno? I know there's a lot of housing going on west of 99 in the Central High School District, Central Unified.
Yeah, we do have stats. I don't know what they are exactly, but right now anything that comes on the market sells really quick. We probably have less than a month of inventory, and a lot, in the North Valley, west of 99, Central Fresno. I mean, everything that comes on the market, no matter where it is, ends up selling pretty quick.
Yes.
And I do get a lot of.
Carmen,
go ahead.
Carmen, you and I had talked, I guess, last week or earlier this week regarding the Tower District.
Oh, yes.
And you said that there was probably a few questions about that. Everything, as time goes, things change and that type of thing. I do believe that the city has done some, increased some police patrols within the Tower District. South of the Tower, if you go into between the Tower District and downtown, and Blackstone and let's say, San Pablo Street or Van Ness, you can even say. That area there, some years ago, a church-based organization, Christian-based organization moved in there, and it was called the Lowell Jefferson District. And they moved in there. They said, we're not only going to try and fix this place up, we're buying houses, we're investing. And they've done that, and they've got a big community garden at Belmont and San Pablo there for the community that they do. So they've been pretty active in there, and they've been there a number of years. So you have those additional, community type resources that are also helpful that live in the neighborhoods, and that's one of the I believe the city person that's in charge of the homeless program, HB's, he's part of that group. He lives in that Low Jefferson neighborhood.
Yeah, and he's very
and
helpful with the community that he's in as well. So he puts his, he does what he talks about. And I like
right.
it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The lady that oversees that program within that neighborhood, her name is Esther De La Haye.
Yeah, and she's going to join us next week. And I think you appointed her, right, to the Lowell District?
I appointed her to the Planning Commission, the County Planning Commission.
Mm-hmm.
And she's a great resource to have as well.
Yeah, I know a lot of, I don't see Roger here, but I've sold things on, south of Abbey there on Blackstone, which, is very well known for the opportunity zones over that.
Mm-hmm.
There's just a big talk about things changing and maybe doing mixed use and a lot of opportunity there.
Mm-hmm.
So, she's going to come in and talk about that a little bit. I think that's the area you were talking about, right?
Yeah, and one of the things too that would probably be helpful that you've probably already set up is invite the council representative for that area.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing I want to share with you, it's in the group, is that when the Gap came to Fresno, they had never heard of Fresno. Actually, they're based out of San Francisco. Is where the company started, and they were looking for property to build a warehouse, a distribution center, and the governor at that time was Pete Wilson, and he's the one that directed the Gap to come to Fresno, and that's how all that came about. But I spoke to the representatives from the Gap and asked them, how do you pick a city where you want to locate your, in this case, a distribution center? What do you do? And they said, well, first of all, we don't talk to government, to the local government. We go in, we'll rent an apartment, and we subscribe to the newspaper, watch the news. Of course, we look at the real estate market, but one of the things that we do is we go and drive the neighborhoods where we're going to get our employees, the income levels. We study the income levels of the different parts of the city, and we say, okay, in this census tract, they're making X amount of dollars. It's the average income. Okay, we would draw from there the employees. And then they go drive those neighborhoods just to see what kind of shape they're in. And they determine that. How clean are they? How's the people? They watch the news a lot. They, read the crime statistics. They check the insurance rates, of course, everything. But they never talk to government, and that's how they reach a decision. The most important thing to them was to drive the neighborhoods where they're going to draw their employees from.
Sal, hearing you say that, let me ask you this question. I think that Fresno, a city of its size, needs a newspaper. The Fresno Bee, unfortunately, has lost a lot of clout over the last few years. How can you create a better publication because I still take the Fresno Bee that's printed, I guess, around Stockton or Modesto. I don't know where it is, but in any event, it's always the news about a day late.
Right.
Is there anything underway that can improve and create what I think would be a necessity of a thriving newspaper called the Fresno Bee to be what it used to be 20 years ago?
Everybody, all your media is going to the internet. I'm like you. I still subscribe to the Fresno Bee. I like to go out in the morning and pick up my newspaper and read it. And you're absolutely correct, too, that it's a day late, the news. You know, when you see it on TV or read it on the internet. And to me, it's a little bit sad, but it seems like that's a dying deal. It was being printed out of Sacramento, I believe. I don't know where it's being printed now. But if anything, it would be local investors creating their own. If you'll remember years ago, there was one called the Fresno Guide.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think I think we need to do something and feel that because just like you said, this company said they go to town, they'll get the local paper. I'm getting the Fresno Bee. I would believe it would be a little disheartening as far as expanding into that marketplace.
Exactly. My understanding is that the Bee is planning or has already planned to sell their building in Chinatown. Yeah, it's probably empty by now. So there's probably going to be some interest there on some folks wanting to buy that building because of the freeway access as well. But yeah, it's kind of sad to see that, and they're just newspapers will tell you that the labor costs are too high, the printing, the ink, the paper, all this kind of stuff. So it costs them far less to go do it on the internet.
Could we give them kind of a sweetheart deal like we give into places like Amazon? I mean, a company that makes in the trillions of dollars a year and pays no taxes. And I would imagine the Fresno Bee, McClatchy was probably paying taxes, but we'll do whatever we can to attract Amazon as much as possible to Fresno and let the Bee die and say, well, people are going to the computer. Well, I think they're going to the computer only because of maybe necessity or, but I can guarantee you on Sunday morning, whenever, but I like reading the Fresno Bee 7 days a week, although they don't print on Saturdays.
Right. I'm with you on that. I like reading it every day. I like holding a piece of paper and reading it like that as well. I'm the same way. A lot of it just seems like our life is changing and it's becoming very impersonal.
You're right. You're not on the same page with you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sal.
Yeah, I'm kind of old school because I have a flip phone, cell phone, and some of these kids will look at it and say, "Why don't you get something new?" I said, "Are you kidding?" I said, "This is my pager." And they go, "What's a pager?" And I thought that was a big thing in the 90s was to have a pager before the cell phones came around. And they don't know what a pager is. So it's kind of fun messing with them sometimes.
No, you hit it right on the head. I think some of us are older and have kind of grown beyond the effectiveness of what's going on today has long since left us. And
yeah.
Maybe for the better. I don't know.
Now, Sal, I'm going to ask you, what do you think about the Proposition 15? It's the split roll on Prop 13.
It's the what?
Proposition 15, for taxing agriculture and commercial.
Let me look that one up a little bit here.
Yeah, it's the one where if it passes, they will tax commercial and actually also ag and industrial on current property values.
Okay, increases funding sources for public schools, community colleges, and local government services by changing tax assessment of commercial industrial property initiative. No, I'm not supportive of that.
Good, good.
It's not the time. It's not the time to be, doing that.
I agree with.
Yep.
We agree with you.
We just can't afford it. It just seems like everything is, on your, in your booklet that you receive, one of the things that's important to me is when I read the fiscal impact on it. This one says increased property taxes on commercial properties worth more than $3 million, providing $6.5 million to $11.5 million in new funding to local governments and schools. And when I see when a proposition says, "Oh, this increases funding for schools," I'm thinking, well, why did we create the lottery? So that was supposed to go to schools too. So there's one of the big things that I like to see is whenever we give money to an organization at the city or the county, is how did they perform? Did they perform according to the contract that they signed? Did they provide the services to the community that they signed? Did they did they come meet all the goals of it? And if they didn't meet the goals, why don't they give us the money back of what they didn't do? So,
Right.
No,
right.
I don't.
Gets, most people, what gets most people is this is for education, and I think sometimes they don't
Right.
read past that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Seems like we always get charged for something. No, I don't support that.
Now, any other questions out there? Let me check the chat.
Hey, good morning. Hey, Carmen, thanks for getting me in. I am not sure. Technology is messing with all my Zoom meetings this week. So it's, and honestly, I've seen Zoom meetings where everything is getting hit with passwords all of a sudden. So I'm not sure of what's happened out there.
Zoom changed this a couple of months ago. They're getting to each account shortly, and then they require passwords now. But remember, Dave, I think it's the operator.
I think well, there's a nut loose behind the computer. Yes, I know, but hey, Sal, I'm actually out driving around previewing properties while I'm listening to you, and I'm writing numbers and scribbling stuff down. And this goes back to something you brought up earlier about your neighbors and code enforcements and things. And I'm not. There's a specific house that I have sent multiple people by because it seems to me to be a great price and a great neighborhood. And I just drove by it and everyone said, well, yeah, but the neighbors are a problem. The neighbors are a problem. I just drove by it and the neighbors are actually running an appliance store out of their backyard. The whole backyard is full of old decrepit refrigerators and old washers. And I can see why this person is selling. I can also see why this person can't sell because of the neighbor. And I don't know if that's the kind of thing that I would recommend to the seller to say, well, explore these things. But is that the kind of thing that you would get involved with, or somebody at the well, it's in the city too, so that'd be a city issue. Well, really, it's atrocious what these people are putting up with.
Here's how that might work for you. Is even though you're not the neighbor. I mean, you're trying to sell the property. You might have a potential buyer. You can still turn them in because number one, you don't have to give your name.
Yeah.
And if you can see those appliances from the street, okay, like the top of the appliance over the fence,
Yeah.
you can turn it in, and you can say, you know what, it looks like they're running a business there. Well, you could say they have signs, or the gate's always open, there's always cars around, or something like that, and you can turn them in. And a code enforcement person shows up. Oh, you selling these? Oh, yeah, I'm fixing them. I'm selling them. Okay, you got a business license, and your property isn't zoned for. I mean, that's the job of the code enforcement.
Okay, and that's that.
And they say you got 2 weeks to shut it down.
And Dave,
yeah, 621 city but I'll tell you this though. If you call the council member that represents that area, if you call their office, code enforcement will move a little faster.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Same thing with us. We get calls, and they didn't call the county code enforcement folks. They'll call us. We turn it in. We'll be happy to do that. See, but yeah, that's the way to do it. If you can see it above the top of the fence line, and you can see they got multiple stuff, well, they got to be doing something.
Yeah, they have sold stickers on the fridges, so I'm thinking it's a business.
And Dave, there is an app.
Absolutely.
There is an app. It's Fresgo. You can take a picture of that and turn it in on there. Yeah, I've done that many times.
Exactly.
You know, if I see a car parked on a lawn, you know, I just think that is so wrong. And I turned it in, and they actually respond to you and let you know that they've taken, you know, notified the owner. Because sometimes these places may be rentals. So a lot of times what they'll do is they'll notify us as the owner, and they also send a letter to the address for the tenant. So the tenant knows that you know.
Got it.
The
thank you.
The 14 years I was on the city council, I think I got the record for turning in the most properties for code enforcement. We did about 10,000. So
oh my gosh.
We were busy.
So you're the one who turned me in.
I probably was.
No, and actually we had a renter in our neighborhood, and they were very responsive, very all over it. And you're right, Carmen, I did use Fresgo at that point, so I'll put it back on this phone. But thank you. That was my burning question.
And one of the sad things is that a lot of the rentals is the person that owned the property died, and they passed it on to their children as a renter, as a rental property, and that child lives out of town. So all they're doing is just happy to collect the rent, and they don't care what it looks like. So that's when we got to get their attention. Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is cool. I really appreciate it. I'm glad I got in.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you. Hey,
thank you.
No, that was my question. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
I've used that Fresno app before too. It's really good, especially for graffiti. They are there within 24 hours. Potholes, they're within 24 to 36 hours. The code enforcement, and I know that's a lengthy process. I've called on one that's actually next door to my rental, which I'm about to sell. I'm getting it prepped up, and it's been over a year, and it's been sold to an out-of-town investor. He has a renter in there now, and for about 6 months, and it's as bad as it was before. So that's a good suggestion to call the city council member, because I've done that in the past and kind of forgot about that. But
so that's what we have.
Any other questions or comments, guys? Feel free to unmute. I'm going to share, we haven't shared an article in a while, but this one is kind of important, so I'm going to share it with you. Let me see if I can find it here. And Dennis, I don't know if Dennis is on with us today, but he always shares some really good articles with us. Let's see if you can see that. Okay. This is from a report, Fresno's buyers snapping up homes like it was still summer. Mirroring a national trend, Fresno's residential real estate market continued to experience a summer-like peak heading into the fall. According to the report from Realtor.com, the U.S. median home price was up 12.9% over last year for the week ending October 3rd, showing no signs of the usual fall cool down. The numbers of homes on the market was down 38% in that period. Homes were selling 13 days faster than this time last year. In Fresno, the median listed price was up 7% in the first week of October compared to the same period last year, indicating tighter inventories. Total listings fell by 55.4% over the year. Comparing median days on the market, Fresno homes sold 23 days faster compared to last year. While buyers would normally begin to hunker down this time of year, we expect to see an unusual high number remain on the market this fall, says Daniel Hale, chief economist at Realtor.com. This gives sellers a rare opportunity to get top dollar for their home outside of the prime selling season, which may be motivating some to stay in the market. However, even with record-breaking prices, we're not seeing sellers rush into the market with the same eagerness as buyers. Looking forward to a key is whether frenzied demand will continue in the spring. And this is interesting article because we're seeing that, and like Sal, you had mentioned about Fresno and the market, it's just amazingly busy right now. With maybe because of COVID too, a lot of sellers may be waiting. I've talked to some that have concerns. You know, the economy is a concern, but things are still selling rather quickly, and we just have more buyers than we do sellers at this time. So it's not unusual to see 5, 10, 20 offers out there at any given moment. Even today, October, we're not seeing the fall season, cool down. So that could be a part of it too. Any comments regarding that out there?
No, it's yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Carmen. One of the things that I think we should do, in fact, Ricard put some information on the a week ago in regards to reverse exchanges. And the reason I say reverses could very well stick its ugly head up, I listed a piece of property, or my office did, my wife did. I think it was last Sunday, put it on the market on Monday. The contract on Tuesday will have a very well-known agent in Fresno that's been in the business for years and years and years. That was an offer that was written by a guy in Florida. That wants to close in less than 30 days. So, from a straightforward purchase, but I think eventually we're going to see reverses start again. And what do we do if we're in a forward that turns into a reverse? And just there's a lot of things that we need to know about reverse exchanges to stay level with the board when it comes to our investor public.
Right, I agree with you. Sal, were you going to say something?
No, that's all right.
Yes, Tom, and let's see. I think somebody had their hand up, but they disappeared. Okay, so this is just the type of market we have now. Unless they're paying cash though, Tom, that's going to be rough because lenders are so busy right now with still refinances that they're taking, I hear, about 2 weeks on just appraisal alone once it's ordered.
I don't think, as my friend Doug will tell you, refinances is not going to make a blimp on the market whatsoever because Freddie Mac is saying, it's okay with me if I don't do one. So I don't see refinances as a disruptor. Is that right, Doug?
Correct, Tom.
Yep. Refinancing, it's slowing it down a little bit, but it is not it's not having any real influence on the overall.
Well, if you have a buyer that comes in and says, I want to close in 30 days, sometimes that may not happen. It may be 35 days, it may be 40 days.
Well, and that's correct. But as far as on the sale, I mean, as far as realtors, you shouldn't be probably writing them up as 30-day closes, because I think you may get a few that can still do that, but you're going to push that 30 days, and it's probably going to be more like 35 at this point, just due to volume. But as far as, you know, slowing your market down as far as the sales, is just getting in the system and going through the motions and closing it. So I'd like to go back to something that Sal said that I didn't realize, which was the when the Gap came to town, how they, you know, moved into the area and kind of lived in the area to see what the workers were like and kind of what the area looked like. Because I don't think most people realize the connecting the dots per se, that all the problems that we have as a city and as a county with the homelessness, the trash, the graffiti, the crime, the whatever you want to call it, all has consequences of getting businesses to move into Fresno. And that's why it is important, and we may deal with it on an individual basis, with, like Dave talked about with the refrigerator man in the neighborhood selling refrigerators, but all that kind of stuff adds up. It's got a cumulative effect on the city as a whole. And if that happens and we're not getting businesses like Amazon and Gap and these big companies moving in to provide great jobs, you know, I think we as individuals, and Sal is getting the word out that does have consequences for things that happen down the road to make us a better city, a stronger economic city, and not only aesthetically a better city for people to want to move here, people wanting to live here. And because Fresno and Clovis and Fresno County are a great place to live, and it's one of those things. So when he said that, it was like I didn't really connect the dots before that, but it is important. I mean, you know, it's not in, you know, a lot of times our thing is, well, it's not happening in my neighborhood, so I don't really care. So, but as a community, we have to care about all these things. All, you know, the drug rehab houses moving into residential neighborhoods and not, you know, not being run by the rules or whatever, you know, those sorts of things. So anyway, that's my 2 cents worth.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. You know, that probably tells us that they run their company with a different culture in mind. So that's one thing to consider too, is that's a good way to, you know, understand the neighborhoods that you're moving into and really care about the environment that you're in. They're not looking at just economic numbers to see, you know, if these folks here make a specific salary, then we will open up a store here like a lot of the companies do now. And Sal, are you still with us?
Yes, but I'm going to have to check out in a few minutes. I've got an appointment across town. So.
Okay, well, let me say this, Sal. I appreciate you very much. I think we all do for what you say and do for our city. I mean, it's just amazing to have this level of care, you know, that we can see and hear. So we appreciate you, and, you know, thanks for joining us, and we hope to see you again. Come visit anytime.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for the invitation, and really appreciate it, and good to talk to the legend again. So
thank you so much.
We'll be in touch. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Ari, as well. I appreciate you. Okay, guys, I had a question posed, so I'm going to bring it up to you as agents and lenders, okay? The question is, when we're dealing with buyers, how much should we get involved on the lending side? For example, I know the answer to that on my side, but sometimes we have buyers that we know or work with, and I think there's a level of confidentiality, and maybe they don't want you to know all their financials. So how much should we be involved with that process as far as a realtor with the lending side? What do you think, Doug? Or anyone out there, do you have any comments about that?
I'll get my mute.
Okay. Carmen?
Yes.
I don't know about the financial part. I don't usually look into their finances other than ask the lender, do they have enough for their payment? Is everything set? But I think we have to be very involved about like the timeline. I just had one where the lender didn't order the appraisal. Well, he ordered the appraisal, but he didn't keep on it. They told him it was going to take like 28 days for the appraisal to come back from the day he came out to the house. The appraisal was coming back after the end of the escrow. So I think we do have to keep up with that and make sure on that end that everything is being done on time.
And I think the question is, I'll pose it this way. Sometimes we work with people that we know. I know that I've worked with maybe colleagues of my husband, that teach and things like that. And I think from the beginning, we have to set the ground rules on our involvement. Like I will meet with them and I will say, I am your realtor. I will deal with finding the homes. I don't get involved in you getting approved. You can go with any lender you like, and that's private to you. Because I know the level of confidentiality and maybe they don't want us to know their business. So I think setting up the ground rules early on is key, but at the same time, just let them know the only thing I will require from your lender is going to be an approval letter for the specific amounts that we're looking to buy. So have you guys had any issues with things like that as a realtor or lender?
Carmen, we just had a transaction where we received a pre-qual letter from a very large mortgage lender here in Fresno. And we did call and says, we just want to make certain that everything is intact, that you ordered the credit. No, they said, no, all we did was they called in, gave us basic information. Based on the information they gave us, we give them a pre-qual letter. Well, I think as Doug would agree, that's not a pre-qual letter. So how involved do I get? Very involved.
But I think, Tom, don't you agree that when we're working with people that we know, they don't want us involved on that side of things? And when it comes to people that I know or that maybe work with my husband or referrals, I try to stay separate from the financial side because number one, I'm not the lender. Number two, I don't need to know how much they make. I don't need to know their credit score. When it comes to friends, I'm saying, usually it's different if it's a buyer that I don't know. But Doug, how much information do you give a realtor when they call in? And have you had any issues with this on the buyer?
You know what? I think I'll talk in generalities to them. But Tom, too, the other thing is there's a difference between pre-qual and pre-approval. And what you probably should be requesting is pre-approval because that means usually there's pre-qual is just like you said, they basically are taking the borrower's word and haven't backed any of it up with any sort of documentation, where pre-approval, you have the tax returns, you have pulled credit, you have seen their funds. So, and when I'm giving information to the lenders, I will say, yeah, credit's been pulled, their score is hot, meets the Fannie or Freddie requirements. I verified that they have the cash to close, or I have verified, and you would know if it's a contingency on a sale of a house or whatever, and all those sorts of things. They've been on their jobs for a long period of time. So I talk more in generalities than specifically the numbers where you make $150,000 a year and you have your score is 750, but that's what you should probably look at too, is are you getting because a pre-qual letter that in $2.50 will get you a cup of coffee at Starbucks. I mean, it's worthless. It's just a piece of paper that's worthless, doesn't mean a thing. Pre-approval letter is got more meat to it, but most of those letters don't get hung up on them, because bottom line is, read them. If you really read them and look down at the bottom, they're worthless. They don't mean anything. They're not commitment at all.
This particular lender was quite upfront in saying, we don't want to get that involved until they're in contract.
Interesting. But the question is,
yeah, and that makes sense. Yeah.
and the question more is, you know, how much should we know about the buyer's information, where some buyers feel that their financials are more private, and maybe if I'm a friend representing them as a realtor, they may not want me to know all details, and I can agree with that, because I think I you know, understand that that can be confidential for a lot of people.
Well, we were representing the seller and not the buyer. And we were just checking up on the authenticity of the document we had.
Mhm.
At the time before we made that call to the lender, we were leaning towards this buyer getting the house. The buyer did not get the house. We went with the guy out of Florida that's never seen it, rather than deal with this person that really doesn't have a pre-approval.
And Tom, I know that you've worked with many people, maybe on a high dollar amount, that probably have, you know, hold their information confidential and maybe don't want you to know all details about everything. Have you come across that?
What, Ange?
No, we really don't have that situation.
You know,
but we don't ask people what we don't
we
talk
don't
about
ask
their
that
money.
kind of
We just
question. I
want
don't
their
care about
letter.
that.
Yeah.
All I'm interested in is documentation to support the decision we made. I'm not concerned with specifics.
Okay.
That's
Well,
You know, the other thing is, you know, in this market today, maybe the buyer's agents did a disservice. You know, why make an offer on a house if the guy's not even pre-approved? I mean, pre-qualified doesn't mean anything, because if you want to buy this house, you need to be ready to go and your offer accepted and close it. In today's market, I mean, people that are lollygagging, haven't gotten their lender information and stuff like that. I mean, really, how serious are you in buying a house? I mean, you need to jump on stuff and get it done and have your business in order.
Yeah,
and so, you know, I think that's where we're at. And if people are hesitant to give their lender or whatever documentation to get them pre-approval.
One of the problems too, Doug, and others.
Prior to making an offer, that listing agent accepts the offer.
Was a new, inexperienced agent.
There you have it, right there.
The offer was written by somebody unexperienced?
Oh, yes. And we really wanted to do business with him, primarily because his mother's a friend of ours. Couldn't do it.
Honestly, it was a really good learning session for him, because we talked to him and explained to him why his client didn't get the offer. And he honestly said, thank you, I didn't realize that. So it was a good learning experience, and it just happened. But for the most part, you know, pre-quals, they're useless, like Doug said. I mean, what's the point of even writing up a pre-qual? It's a waste of the lender's paper and email time and effort. So that's what happened. But it was a good learning experience for this young man.
And a lender that, you know, doesn't.
You know what? And most of our, so I'm sorry, Carmen. I said most of our business is on the job training anyway. This is, you know, this is where the Fresno Board of Realtors, you know, as far as having more training type classes for new agents would really come in, to where if you did some of this stuff to help, you know, new agents understand the importance and that. Otherwise, the only time you are going to learn is like what happened there, is on the job. And hey, there's a sale that guy could have had that he didn't get. And, you know, nobody wants to do that. I mean, sales are important for everybody. Everybody's trying to make a living. So,
or more importantly,
kind of
a home that this buyer could have had.
Right.
Absolutely, that too.
Yeah, that's the most.
And they live here.
May I say something for 1 minute that's totally off topic?
Mm-hmm.
There's a young man on this Zoom call today. His name is Vasily, and he is our newest broker. Was an agent with Hyatt Real Estate. He is now a broker associate. So I want to congratulate Vasily for passing his broker's exam.
Congratulations, Vasily. Wonderful.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, Angie. I appreciate it. I took the test downtown on Wednesday.
Woohoo!
Woohoo! Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I don't think the question was answered, and I posed it because it was brought to me by an agent. And one thing I will say, when I think you have to set up the ground rules, and you're right, Tom. I don't work with many lenders that will not pick up all info from the buyer, income, credit, everything before they issue a pre-approval. And even nowadays, they're giving us a DU approval or underwriter approval, because it's just that type of market where those things are very critical. But when it comes with some buyers, some are very private about their financials, their information, and that's something that we should, as agents, keep in mind. And I always keep that in the back of my mind, because I'm used to working with representing other realtors sometimes, or buyers that work with me or my husband, and I want to keep the financial side separate. So I always let them know, when I represent you, I am your realtor. I'm not, you can use any lender you like, and I don't have anything to do with the lending side. All I will need from that lender is the approval letter. And I think that makes them at ease about it. So I think that's kind of important when we deal with the situation, is to just set up the ground rules so everybody knows where they stand and what to expect.
Great.
Okay, anything else going on, guys? Well, Paul, good to see you. I'm glad we're traveling and are doing well. I like I said it when we started, I got a call from Roger Story, and I don't know how many millions of dollars he's working with right now with these, the housing authority buying hotels and commercial stuff. So he's like up to here. He's like, I have only till I think November to get all this stuff done. Otherwise, they lose the money. So he's been really stressed out with that.
You'd asked me about, was it 1078, SB 1078?
Yes.
That's another one of the Sacramento moves to take over the real estate industry. They have extended auction sales now another 3 to 4 months with this bill. And they've got a bill out there to where if you list a house, you cannot accept an offer for the first 10 days. And then if a government agency or a housing type group, whatever, they can then put an offer in on the home, and you cannot turn them down if their offer is more than the other offer that you have from a private investor or whatever. You must accept the offer from that group, and then they have 125 days to decide whether or not they're going to buy it, and then another I think it's 45 days to set up financing, and then they have the right to extend the sale another 60 days if necessary for closing.
Okay, yeah, I remember that one. And it was also Paul, SB 1079. That one is the one that has to do with foreclosures. Do you know about that one?
Yeah, that's the one that they've signed, and it's going to put another minimum 45 days on an auction sale, and a group can go in as when they basically close the auction. If there's a bid out there, they can go in and bid higher than the highest bid on it at the end of the 45 days, and then they can buy it. So it looks like another bill where government is going to control what's bought and sold.
Okay, I think it was trying to take away you know, it sounds good on one end because it's trying to take away the power of the banks to sell these properties in bulk sales to investors, to maybe hedge fund or bankers, but you know, or help the homeowner before they go into foreclosure. But you're right, that one piece of writing that makes a big difference, right?
Yes, they cleaned things up on it, made things a lot clearer and easier and stuff, but they finished it off with a caveat at the very end that the government agencies have the right to go in and make a higher bid after the auction has been basically closed and then buy the property.
Yeah, I think that's wrong. That's why I didn't like that.
Yeah, we're going to see more of this government control of what's going on. And it's definitely happening here in the real estate business to where they can control properties. And that's one of their goals.
Anything else before we go?
I don't know if anybody's interested, but KMJ had a speaker, I believe it was Wednesday, and they have a podcast on it, DeManuel, who was part of the Lincoln Club, and they basically went over the ballot measures and kind of identified the pros and cons and gave suggestions as far as voting. So they're very clear that the ballot is very misleading in several of the measures, and you know, it was a kind of a opening to identify certain ballot measures that were very misleading. So there was basically the summary is I think it was vote no on everything except for, I think it was, let me check my notes here. I got it here. Yes on 20 and 22. So basically 22 was the rideshare one and 20 was the one that Nunes is backing regarding law enforcement and what have you. So, you know, and I hear the commercials and I watch the commercials now that after listening to that show, and you can see where things are definitely misconstrued. And one that cracks me up the most is one that was quote unquote fact checked.
Mm-hmm. Now, is that happened, but you can listen to the program after?
Yeah,
on the app?
they mentioned a few times during the show that it was going to be on their website, on their podcast later that evening. So it should be on there by now. I believe it was either Tuesday or Wednesday.
Okay, we'll look for that one. Yeah, anything is helpful.
Yeah, McClintock also, he has a review on all of them, and he came out with the same yes votes on 20 and 22. Everything else is no. And he explains some of those also. So you can go to his website and find that.
Good to know, Paul. Okay. Tom, anything before we part?
Oh, it's a fabulous meeting like always. Thank you very much, Carmen.
Thank you, Tom. Learning from the best and having you here to provide leadership is key. So I appreciate that. And all of you too, to you know, participate and pose the good questions too.
Thank you, Carmen.
Thank you. Okay, guys, we'll see you next week then. Take care.
See you next week, guys. Have a good weekend.
You too. Bye-bye. Thank you, Ari. We'll take care.